The name Solomon is a symbol of wealth and wisdom. But do you know there is something that you can learn from what happened with him that can help you become wealthy also? You would have heard, don't seek the gold, seek the gold mine. The wealth, riches, honor and fame that Solomon had surpassed the fame of any king of his time. But today we will not talk about how rich or great Solomon was. For that you can easily search. But today we will see what made him so. It is obvious for most to know that Solomon was wise. Almost everybody knows that. We all know from the Bible that God gave him his wisdom. But have you ever thought, why Solomon? Why did God chose to give him his wisdom? As it's written in 2 Chronicles, Solomon asked God, "Give me now wisdom and knowledge." So God gave him that. That is true. But do you really know what does it mean to have wisdom and knowledge? Or what did Solomon really ask? And why did he ask it? Do you really know that? If you understand this about Solomon today, you are going to get rich soon. Unlike what people think, Solomon was already a wise man even before God blessed him in the dream. In 1 Kings chapter 2, David is speaking to Solomon saying, "Do therefore according to thy wisdom." Then again in verse 9 David says, "For thou art a wise man and knowest what thou oughtest to do." So he already had wisdom, but this was natural wisdom. It wasn't divine. Soon we'll see an example of how Solomon used his wisdom. But before that, let's see what made God bless Solomon with so many riches and honor. Let's see what did he really ask God. In 1 Kings chapter 3 it says, "And the king went to Gibeon. 1,000 burnt offerings did Solomon offer upon the altar. In Gibeon the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream." And this is the same incident of 2 Chronicles where Solomon said to God, "Give me now wisdom and knowledge." 2 Chronicles 1 it says, "So Solomon went to the high places that was at Gibeon and offered 1,000 burnt offerings upon it." So it was the same incident. Now coming back in 1 Kings chapter 3, when God asked Solomon, "What do you want?" Solomon said to God, "Give therefore thy servant a hearing heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this thy so great people?" Notice, here Solomon is asking for a hearing, understanding heart, a heart which is sensitive to the voice of God. And the motive behind is a noble one. He says so that he can judge the people of God to discern and differentiate between good and bad. He says because the people of God are very high in multitude for him to judge naturally. Therefore he was asking for a hearing and understanding heart. Pay attention. Here he did not ask directly for wisdom and knowledge, but he asked for the ability to hear from God, to differentiate and judge between good and bad. This motive he had was a holy motive. This desire was pure and great in the sight of God. Therefore God replied to him, "Because thou hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast asked riches, nor hast asked the lives of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to hear judgment. Behold, I have given thee a wise and an understanding heart, and I have also given thee that which thou hast not asked, both riches and honor." So God blessed him with riches and honor because Solomon was not selfish. He was not self-centered like any other man or any other king. God blessed him with great riches and divine wisdom because he was seeking excellence. He was seeking excellence as a king to serve God best and rule his people in the best way. Notice, as a king he never said to God, "My people." Notice, he said, "Thy people." All his focus was on God and how he can serve God best by ruling his people well. Being crowned as king, he was using this opportunity to be of best service to God. This is how you can be rich. This is how you can be really rich. Focus on what you can do now. In the deepest of your motives, focus on how you can serve God and be of best service to Him and His people. Ask God to give you the ability to hear from Him, to do the best in your current position and place. Target excellence, but not for your own self, but for God and His people all around you. Think and target to be a blessing to them with the natural abilities you already have. And soon you will find yourself empowered with supernatural abilities which you thought was impossible for you. And when you will provide value to so many people, money and riches will come. And it will not just come, it will flow to you from many directions, because money is nothing but exchange of value. Let's see, how did Solomon use his natural wisdom as king? Before receiving the divine wisdom, let's see how did he use his natural wisdom. In 1 Kings chapter 2, it talks about when the mother of Solomon came to plead for Adonijah, a stepbrother of Solomon, who wanted Solomon to give Abishag in marriage to him. She was a virgin girl who nursed and served David in his old age. By the natural eyes, there seems to be nothing wrong in asking to marry a servant girl, which belonged to King David as part of his many servants. But notice what Solomon replied to his mother. In verse 22 it says, "And King Solomon answered, Why dost thou ask Abishag for Abinijah? Ask for him the kingdom also, even for him and for Abithar and for Joab." Notice he is not telling, but he is questioning his mother in sarcasm. He is questioning his mother. Why don't you ask for him the kingdom also, even for him and for Abithar and for Joab his evil partners? In the next verse, Solomon says, by speaking such a request, Adonijah in his cunningness has spoken against his own life. The reason was, this virgin girl, who used to serve Solomon's father David during his last days, belonged to the king and was under his authority. So if Solomon, as the ruling king, gives in marriage this girl to Adonijah, who was also a prince, it could be used by Adonijah to show to all the people that it was a sign of share or claim to the throne. Notice, Adonijah was also a son of David, and this girl could be seen that she was received in inheritance as wife of the new king. It would be shown falsely to the people that Adonijah was the new king who had married this girl. Naturally, you can't see this evil intention. Even Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon, could not understand. But notice how Solomon used his natural wisdom to discern this evil plan of his stepbrother. Therefore, as a new king, he gave orders to execute this man, who tried to play tricks with the king to steal his kingship. This was a direct challenge to the kingship of the king. Therefore, this man was executed. This is also why God asked to give him whatever he wants, because Solomon was faithful and careful to use what he already had. As a new king, Solomon was careful and attentive to use his natural wisdom to discern and sense this evil plan of his stepbrother. Therefore, God gave him opportunity for more wisdom. Now let's see what happens when you receive divine ability. Let's see what happened when Solomon received divine wisdom from God. In 1 Kings chapter 3, 16 to 28, it talks about two harlots who came to King Solomon claiming for a child. Both claimed to be the mother of the child. Both were saying that the child was her and not of the other. To the natural wisdom, there seems to be no solution for this. But notice what Solomon said. And the king said, "Bring me a sword, divide the living child in two, and give half to the one and half to the other." Then it says, the real mother spoke immediately. She said, "O my lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it." But the other said, "Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divide it." So the king knew immediately who was the real mother, because only the real mother would love her child like that. This is how divine wisdom manifested in Solomon. The wisdom of God was in him. But before we have the divine, we all must learn to be faithful in the natural ability that God has given us. Go for excellence with the best of your ability and with the best motives, not being selfish, as that never pays, but being a blessing to others. Start small, but start now. If you like to drive, start by dropping someone old or needy for free. While going to office and coming from office, drop them, give them a free ride. Just start. and then money will flow. If not the same people, others will bless you with money and riches. Because the real riches do not come from man, they come from God, who can see the heart. Don't try to play smart with God. He can see you inside out. Nothing is hidden from Him. Notice, Solomon could have asked, God, give me riches, give me wealth. What do you think he would have been? He would have been rich for sure, but it would be like many other rich kings in the world. But because his motive was not selfish, but because he sought to be of best service to God and His people, therefore God gave him so much abundance that you are hearing his name even after thousands of years, as the richest king who ever lived on earth. But do you know, there is a man still alive who was much greater than Solomon in wisdom. It says, one greater than Solomon is here. His name is Jesus Christ. And yes, he is still alive, as he resurrected 3 days later 2000 years back. Although he may not be physically visible to all, but he is still alive and still also visits in visible form to a few whom he chooses to reveal himself. So don't just seek the gift, seek the source, seek the gift giver, seek God.